Howdy folks, I'm Renewed Rebirth, roiling rude ruby raccoons.
I'm Amber.
And here are more raccoons for us, rude ruby raccoons for us to, I guess, royal. So let's get started on that. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Being Blunt and Saying I Will Never Name Our Child After My Wife's Sister Since She Is a Spoiled Brat? My wife and I are expecting our daughter in a few months. My wife, I'll call her Nora, has a younger sister, Rebecca, that everyone in the family is overprotective of. I'm not a fan of Rebecca. I find her to be a spoiled brat that will cry to mom every time she doesn't get her own way. I find her overall to be rude and entitled. Nora's family babies her, and to be honest, at 22, she should not be throwing a fit about not getting what she wants. One example of this is that she had a mini meltdown at our wedding because her shoes were the wrong color. Not even by a lot. It was just a different shade of white. You couldn't even see the shoes since the bridesmaid dress was long. So about 30 minutes before we were going to get married, she was crying and everyone had to go and comfort her. Well, anyways, we got dinner with my wife's family this weekend. And during dinner, Rebecca said that it would be nice to have a niece named after her. I shrugged it off, and the dinner went on like normal. Well, when we got home, my wife sat me down and told me that she wanted to name our daughter after her sister. That she brought up how much it would mean to her sister. I told her no. We have a 2 yes, no 1 rule to names. Nora texted me and told her no. That is when everything got bad. It started with my wife getting texts about changing her mind from her family, and when she stuck to the decision, they got rude about it. I started to receive texts, and it ended with me getting a call from my mother-in-law and Rebecca. I told both of them no multiple times, and just started asking why over and over again. Well, at that point, I snapped and told both of them that I would never name our daughter after her, that she is a spoiled brat, and I don't want our daughter to be anything like her, that this is literally an example of that. I hung up, and my wife says that I should apologize, but she agrees that they were a lot. I still have been getting texts about how Rebecca has been crying since the conversation. Her family sees me as a huge jerk, and are still on my case. My wife is on my side, but she does want me to smooth things over. I really don't want to and think that they need to change. All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. Even if Rebecca was a saint, you would still not be obligated to name your kid after her. Names are a 2 yes, 1 no situation with only the people who are parenting the kid to be involved. All your in-laws can just butt out.
I mean, I guess they could cut like a deal where Rebecca has to pay child support or something like that. Yeah, if you pay $1,000 a month for 18 years, then yeah, we'll name the kid after you. I don't know. pay to play, I guess. I mean, there would be no incentive for her to continue paying after any amount of time because she'd just be like, oh, I didn't know you were serious, and then there would be no consequence. So, no, I don't think that OP is wrong. I think that OP is fine for telling her that she's a spoiled brat because she's a spoiled brat.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, there are, I mean, maybe they could have been nicer about it, but I also don't know how you can be nicer at this point in time,
Well,
right?
that's it exactly. Like, these are people who are not minding their own business, and you gotta say something to get them. Like, unfortunately, like the wife probably really needs to cut down on contact with them until they stop this nonsense. Like, that's the only thing that may get through to them is cutting contact, for a while until, because as long as Rebecca gets to throw her tantrums anytime she wants to and get all attention on her, then you're just gonna be stuck in this cycle.
Exactly. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Sun Chaser Disco Die says, not the jerk. Not naming your daughter after her 22-year-old aunt would be a perfectly reasonable thing, even if she was a saint in every other way. And furthermore, your wife needs to be the one to set her family straight and smooth things over, not you. I mean, that comment kind of said it all. And Desperate Net 3878 says this, your wife really needs to step up and show her spine. It shows that Rebecca is the golden child, but now that you are having a child, you have more important things to spend your energy on. P.S. Your wife might benefit from some therapy. The fact that she wanted to name her own daughter after her sister decided to demand her name shows that she might put her family before her husband and daughter. She really needs to get her priorities straight before the vulnerable child is born. And same understanding 313 says, name her Re-Better. I mean, I like that. And 030927 says, name the kid Rebecca, pull a Ted Lasso and start calling the sister-in-law old Rebecca. And Own Eyes 2543 says, you don't gang up on, harass, beg, or even ask a couple to name their baby a certain name. Your wife probably doesn't know how weird this is, given her upbringing. Not the jerk. And Martin Aurelius says, we were going to name my daughter after my wife's grandmother until she asked us to. I'm not going to feed into that kind of vanity. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Making a Mom Pick Up Her Daughter in the Middle of the Night from My Kid's Sleepover? This weekend, I had a small birthday sleepover for my 8-year-old daughter and a couple of her friends. The night started completely normal, and the girls had snacks, watched movies, and went to bed around 10:30. But around 1:30 a.m., one of them came into my room crying and woke me up. Single mom here, so there was no man in the room, so don't worry. She said that she was scared and wanted her mom. While I was trying to calm her down, she told me that this was her first time sleeping over somewhere new, which was unbeknownst to me and caught me off guard. I did my best to try and comfort her, and I sat down with her and got her a drink, but she kept crying and getting more worked up, repeating that she wanted to go home. I gave it some time, but it wasn't getting any better. So at that point, I felt like it wouldn't be right to force her to stay somewhere where she was clearly not happy. I called her mom and asked if she could come pick her up right then and there. Her mom came, but she seemed annoyed. The next morning, she texted me and said that she wished I had just waited it out until the morning because now her daughter is embarrassed and might not want to try sleepovers again. Where I'm frustrated is that I feel like I was put in a bad position and destined to fail from the start, no matter what. I wasn't made aware that this was her first sleepover, and I don't think that it's fair to use someone else's house, especially during their child's birthday party, as a guinea pig without giving a heads up. I'm not mad at the girl at all, and I felt really bad for her, but I don't think that it was my job to handle that level of distress all night. But I'm wondering if I should have just stayed up with her a bit longer to see if she would go back to sleep and try to push through until the morning, as her mother said. All right, folks, what do you think?
No, absolutely not the jerk. I mean, the kid wanted to go home, and at the end of the day, like, this is not your kid. It is the mom's responsibility to take her kid, even if it's inconvenient. And you also didn't have, like, I mean, usually, like, I don't know if you need to be informed of first sleepovers because a lot of kids are just fine, but if you know a kid has like separation anxiety or trouble being away from home, that's definitely something you want to give the other parent a heads up about. So, I mean, I don't think OP did anything wrong. My sister and I actually were in the situation once but we were informed of the fact. So my sister wanted to invite a friend over, and her mom is like, she is going to freak out in the night. Like, we shouldn't do this, but let her go over anyway. And then our one of our neighbors, like, there was an ambulance that came to his house, and my sister started telling her friend that he had died. And so that was the point where she started freaking out, and her mom did indeed come and pick her up. And it was kind of, but yeah, that's the thing is, like, I know it's not fun to have to like get your kid in the middle of the night or anything like that, but it's much better that you do, and then they're able to be safe and comforted than that. You can't just like leave another adult to try and deal with that.
Yeah, I mean, also, I think the kid's decision matters a lot here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the kid probably will feel safer and feel like they have a place to fall back in the case, like, say something does go, south. And so if they feel like they can always go home and they have their mom to come and pick them up, then this might actually be something where the next time they feel more confident and actually stay over for the whole night, right?
Yeah, well, like, making them ride that out could have been more traumatic in the long run.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think that OP did everything right in this situation. She comforted the kid. She didn't like yell at the kid to tell them to go away or anything like that. And like and this probably did happen. I mean, wasn't there, but I would imagine that she put the kid on the phone with her mom, and the mom probably talked to her for a few minutes. If she didn't, then I would say that would be the only place that I would fault this situation, because the kid might have felt more comfort if they'd been able to just talk to their mom for a minute and the mom calmed them down or something like that, right? But kids are kids. Sometimes these things happen, and like, that's really what it boils down to. They'll grow out of it, and like, yeah, she's going to probably be embarrassed, but that's part of being a kid, and that's part of growing up, is be embarrassed sometimes and say, oh, next time I don't want to be embarrassed. I'm actually going to stick through with this and actually do it, right?
I'm just having a memory right now because I went to summer camp for 2 years. The first year I was fine. The second year there was another girl who was really homesick, And I was fine until then, and then I started getting really homesick. And my mom can't drive, so they put me on the phone to talk to my mom, but there was no coming to get me until time to go home. And then when my mom finally came to pick, this was like a week-long summer camp, but my mom came, parents came to get me, and my mom comes in, and I'm like, is this my mom or is this an imposter who looks kind of like my mom? And there's like a few like minutes where I was like, am I going home with a stranger who just looks like my mom? I don't know why that was my response, but
I mean, that's actually like something that does happen to people. Like people sometimes have this thing where they think that there are imposters or something like that, and like usually it's just a very temporary type of thing, but sometimes it can devolve into psychosis. But I mean, like most of the time it's fine,
yeah,
right?
I was a 9-year-old,
Yeah,
so
a 9-year-old with an active imagination.
yes, and the camp was like an hour from my home, but it felt like as an adult, like it was in Stockton Springs, so it was literally only like an hour away, but it felt like it was hours and hours and hours, like this giant distance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, car trips in length and distance all feel very much longer to a child. So, but let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Tinkerbell Rock and Roll says, "Not the jerk. Here's an alternative reality. If you had refused to call the girl's mother and the next day the girl looked like she had been crying all night, you would have been negatively judged for not having reached out to the parent. Therefore, you are in what's commonly called a no-win situation. You are darned if you do and darned if you don't. Have you considered the possibility that the mom was just upset that she had her night's sleep disturbed? She'd rather it was you who were up all night with her distraught child, and yes, I know that having a sleepover entails the host being up for most of the night, but that's different. It's one thing to be up because you're supervising children having fun, and another to handle one's child's emotional crisis. If I had been in your shoes, I would have done the same thing." And OP replies, "Yeah, I feel like it was less about her daughter being embarrassed and more about her being inconvenienced by it all. She's one of those gossipy soccer moms, so it's definitely going to be the talk of the town, but oh well. I'm confident now that I did the right thing." Yeah, I mean, OP did the right thing. And Late Night Pickle says, "Not the jerk. I've been in this situation before multiple times, and on one occasion, a mom forced me to stay until the morning, and that was the very last sleepover that I went to. I'm now 22, and I don't feel comfortable staying at my friend's house anymore because of it." And OP replies, "Oh, this is good to hear from that perspective. Thank you. And I'm sorry that happened to you." And that's kind of what my perspective on that is like the kid needs to know that there's a safe place for them to go back to, that their parents are going to be there for them. And I think it could be much more traumatic for them to be away from home and then not have any ability to go back. And Siren of Madness says, "Not the jerk at all. Mom should have told you that it was the girl's first sleepover for one. And that poor girl's embarrassment is unfortunate, but it happens to a lot of us at that age. It will pass, and the girl will forget and move on to other things." And OB replies, "Thank you. We were kind of new to the neighborhood, so I was worried that I just ruined my daughter's shot at having friends, and mom's friends for me. But that mom seemed like someone I wouldn't want to be friends with anyways, lol." Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, "Am I a jerk for RSVPing on behalf of someone else to a wedding?" So this is something that I find objectively hilarious, but I want wider feedback. Back in high school, I was in this friends group that was basically broken up by a girl who dated Alex, and then left him for Brad. I am friends with Brad. Most of the group stuck to the original one. I was always closer to Brad and had a different childhood than everyone else in the group when it comes to infidelity. I viewed it as unfortunate and was willing to be friends with both, but I was ostracized from the majority for not rallying behind Alex. My own father was unfaithful, but my take is that I didn't know the full story, understand the dynamic, and that he was still my dad. Though, I'm not asking for judgment here on my decision though, so please don't comment on how I'm a terrible person because I decided to remain friends with Brad. The most important part of that background is that it's been almost 20 years at this point. I was reminded of Alex because he was in a band, and the band's name came up on my social media feed. I thought to myself, how is Alex doing now? It's been a long time. So I looked up Alex on Google and found out that he's getting married. I obviously wasn't invited, but I got curious and I looked up some other folks from the group to see if they were still close. After all, it had been about 20 years since I saw any of these people. Well, I looked up one person in particular, Charlie, who I just had a feeling would still be very close with Alex. I was very close with Charlie throughout my childhood and was pretty sad that my decision not to cut off Brad led to Charlie not wanting us to be friends anymore. Upon looking up Charlie's name on the RSVP list on the wedding website, I noticed that he had not responded. So here's where I might be the jerk. I responded for him. I said yes and put some silly thing for food as a request. I thought about doing it for more, but I refrained. Some additional context: because having paid for a wedding on my own, I know that food can cost a certain amount per plate, and it's frustrating when people don't show up who food was ordered for. Well, this couple got married at one of the most expensive venues in the city. It cost about $40,000 minimum just to rent the venue, so my assumption on the food cost was it was probably about $300 to $400 per person. Now, that's a decent amount. I think mine was about $250, but considering it was a $40,000 venue and several hundred on the invite list, I did my research on it. I made the assumption that they could afford the $300 for a potentially miscounted head. I also assumed that my request was so absurd that Alex checked with Charlie to see what it was about. This was also only about 2 months before the wedding, so Charlie not having responded at this point was a bit terrible in my opinion, and I knew that it could be changed very easily by either Alex or the bride. So I think it was pretty funny and a harmless prank. But what does Reddit think? All right, folks, what does Reddit think? What does YouTube think?
OP, you need therapy and also a hobby. Like, I understand being curious about what someone is up to years later, but going to the point of like finding out their wedding like RSVP, calculating how much like the venue costs and the plates cost and all this sort of stuff, like this is like ridiculously petty, and it is not healthy that you are this consumed by getting revenge with people who dumped you because you supported a cheater.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's going to have different opinions on cheating, and that's perfectly fine, right? And whether OP feels it's justified or not, it's all in the past at this point in time. And it does feel like OP has a chip on their shoulder after all this time. And while OP is like, oh, it's been 20 years, it feels like OP still hasn't gotten over it, right? Now, I understand them wanting to stick by Brad. That's their decision, right? And it's also everyone else's decision that they stuck with Alex, and it's Charlie's decision that he stuck around with Alex too, right? And I think that it's something that OP needs to really kind of think and contemplate, because it just feels like OP hasn't gotten over it. I know it's been 20 years, but it doesn't feel like 20 years the way OP is describing this. It feels like they still are very deeply hurt by this friends group, and that they haven't forgiven them or let go of it. And I do agree with you. The fact that he's gone through all the trouble of being like, well, let's calculate how much it is per plate or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
like wanting to cost them $400 for a prank.
Yeah.
Like this is petty and jealous, and you're not doing yourself any favors. Like work on yourself, OP. Get therapy.
Well, also, they make a pretty big assumption that Charlie is still close with Alex. Like, they haven't seen any of these people for 20 years, and they're like, they're probably still close. Like, how many people from high school do you still hang out with or talk to, right? And I mean, like, yeah, I mean, like, I wouldn't be able to tell you who was close to who from high school at all, right? So I don't know. I just feel like OP is being very, very petty here, and hopefully they can take some time to improve themselves and think about what they've done. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. But folks, let's see what the Wheel of Judgment has to say. Wheel of Judgment, turn, turn, turn. Tell us the judgment that OP's earned. Therapy.
Perfect.
Nice job, Wheel. Good job. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
What did the stamp say to the envelope on Valentine's Day?
It said that I'm going to wrap myself in paper, dab myself with glue, stick myself on top of myself, and mail myself to me. You? Who?
I'm stuck on you.
Oh, well, see, I basically had it. And folks, today is a very special day. It's elastic string thing. So like if you have like a stringy elasticy thing, then this is the day for you. So go find your elastic strings. You might wonder, what is Brian doing with this elastic string? Well, I was trying to turn it into like a 2D point perspective tracer, but it didn't really work out that well. I have to get a different string for that. But now I'm actually just doing all my graphics on the computer anyways. I was trying to sketch them out in a pad and then transfer them to the computer, but I've just decided that it's easier just to do it all on the computer at this point in time. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Manic Monday, folks. I hope your Monday is off to a great start. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it on grudges.
Don't waste your time and energy on pranking people you haven't seen in 20 years.
Yeah, but thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.